What's your name?
My name is Daryl Freeman.
And you have been bullied in the past?
Yes, I have.
Can you recall the episode and what happened?
I was a young man that had bright red hair and I stuttered. I couldn't speak. They would beat me and they would call me names and they would just do all kind of unkind things. I'd walk uptown and go to a movie and then they would jump me and beat me up, and then if I said anything to anyone, that they would kill me.
I can imagine that really hurt. How did that make you feel in any way?
Makes you feel inferior, makes you feel like you're not wanted, and people do not understand really what that is all about. A lot of them believe it's all in your head and it's imagination.
What is your name?
My name is Margaret Cooper.
I'm interested in knowing if you have ever been bullied.
Well, you know, I don't know as if you'd call it bullying, but when we were driving back to California from Minnesota after the internment, 1943-44, all the Japanese Americans and Japanese from Japan, as well as those born here, as I was, were interned, and of course that was a horrible experience. And then eventually we were allowed to move back to California. So my uncle and my father drove together, the two cars, and when we were about in Utah or somewhere pretty desolate, we decided to get something to eat. We went into a little cafe, but the owner looked at us and said, "We don't serve Japs." And that just was like a slap in the face. And I can still remember how it felt. So I think when you have an experience like that, it has to affect you throughout your life. And you do anything to avoid those situations.
I'm Robert Burrs.
Have you ever been bullied before?
Yes, I have. When I was younger, I was the product of a military family. So we moved around every 2.5 years, basically, based on my dad's job inside of the Army. So with that being the case, I had to somewhat learn how to be a chameleon. One incident in particular, when I was living in Boston, going to my Catholic school there, I'll never forget the day outside of the headmaster's office. This young boy, he was a senior. At that time, I was a freshman in high school. He had been picking on me the entire time since I had been there. And then he threw me up against the wall and just kind of messed with me and just picked jokes against me and said all types of foul things that were racially, how should I say, driven. Words that should not be used based on race. And then eventually I fought back. I couldn't take it anymore. It went on for way too long, about 4 months before I ended up fighting back. And I didn't get in trouble for it, but I had to stand my ground. But after I stood my ground and just let him know that that wasn't going to be acceptable, things turned around for the better.
What grade are you in?
I'm going in 4th.
And again, your name?
Isabel?
Have you ever been bullied before?
Yes.
Could you tell me a little bit about what happened?
Well, people would look at me and say, "I think I could probably get to this person pretty easy, and it would probably make me look a little better." So I think they just did it to make me feel bad about myself.
How did that make you feel?
It made me feel like there was something wrong with me.
Ooh. And how did you overcome it?
I just told my parents, and I stayed away as far as possible, and I tried to avoid the people that played with these people.
Have you ever been bullied before?
Yes, I have.
Do you remember the first time you were bullied?
I was bullied throughout my whole life by my parents and adoptive parents too. Most people would see it as a little thing like, oh, she's the ugly duckling. But then there were worse things like calling me stupid and worthless. They thought the only thing I was good for was cooking and cleaning and taking care of children.
So this bullying affected you somehow, huh?
Yes, it affected me to the point where in high school I was cutting, became suicidal, but then I met someone who actually cared.
So have you ever been bullied before?
The majority of my life I've been bullied. I lived in Mexico for 8 years, and I would get rocks thrown at me by neighborhood children. I was abused a lot in Mexico, so when I moved over here, because I didn't know the language, it was really a really hard process to make friends. So I was additionally bullied over here, and my teacher was discriminating as well. I fell into depression.
Was there some point of not going down a bad road?
The third time I attempted suicide. It was the worst attempt that I had, and I decided that even though everything was falling down around me, that I would stand up and make my own life and my own family. Like I was saying, it's an amazing feeling because we have such a strong community helping us through scholarships, through support, things that I would have never imagined.
And because of that support, we're able to continue with our dreams and becoming the people that we know we can be, to rise above what other people thought we were.
It was worth hanging in there.